From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Man, when I show up, God, I'm saying wow. 100 bands in my pocket, it's on me. Yeah, your grandma probably know me.
Wake up! What up, everybody? We're on the road. It's Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan, Corey here as well. We are in Tennessee right now on our way back from Omaha.
Yep.
Joke's on me. Flew in, thought I was going to fly out, driving back with the Clarks. Brady's in the back, watching a movie, behaving well. It was his birthday yesterday.
It was. I got him a little rubber ball from a truck stop
Yeah.
to commemorate his 11th birthday,
He'll always remember it.
and a milkshake from Chick-fil-A.
All right.
So, I feel like it was probably the best birthday he's ever had. We're looking at about a 15-hour car ride on your 11th birthday. It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, it could have been better.
Sure. Could have been like a week from now when celebrating a natty.
Or we could have stopped at Zaxby's
Sure.
and got him some nibblers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Cajun blackened chicken sandwich. Maybe a salad.
Yeah, well, a lot of options. Options every day, everywhere at Zaxby's.
Yeah. We just weren't anywhere that had a Zaxby's within 150 miles, which I don't know how you people live like that.
Yeah,
I
the
feel
folks
bad
in
for
the
you
Midwest
folks.
don't know what I assume there's some somewhere, but you guys are missing out. We know we got listeners all over the country. Some of you guys in the Midwest have probably never even been to a Zaxby's. Don't even know what one is, maybe.
Never tasted Zax sauce.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing. You really don't.
Deprived.
But you need to find out.
Yeah. Maybe when we get back to Tallahassee, that'll be my gift to Brady. I'll take him out to Zaxby's.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Just smother him in Zax sauce.
Yeah.
He loves
Get you
that
some.
stuff. He'll just eat it. He'll just eat it straight.
Get you some, Brady Clark. All right, so hey, folks, it's the post Mike Martin era. No more baseball talk for all you people that are averse to that sort of stuff. It would have been the greatest story in sports history. It really would have. I mean, even asked Reese Albert after the game the other night. He was like, "Man, they would have made a movie about this had we won." They would have. I mean, it would have been a movie that kids in 3rd grade, 6th grade, 9th grade, boys, girls, they would have shown it at business retreats, corporate team building exercise. They would have showed the movie that would have been based on the events of Mike Martin's career at Florida State. Scored a couple more runs, a few more games.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, we put all of our support now behind ACC brethren Louisville, because that's what we do now these days, right? If your team's out,
we ride or die with
conference.
ACC.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, bring your A game. Speaking of bringing your A game, congrats to Fiondu Kabengele
Yes.
and Terrence Mann, 2 great Florida State players that are now part of the association. Kabengele, a first-round pick of the Brooklyn Nets of the Clippers via the Brooklyn Nets.
Correct.
And T-Man, also a pick of the Los Angeles Clippers. He in the 2nd round, 48th overall. That caught me by surprise. I had my fingers crossed and hoped and wished, and I know I kind of speak for both of us. I think I speak for everybody pretty much listening to this program. Really hoped that Terrence Mann would get drafted, but maybe didn't feel totally confident that he would get drafted. And for him to go so early, relatively speaking, that's got to be a great sort of shot in the arm for him, man. Congrats to a great Knoll, well-deserved. We'll talk about, I guess, Fee in a little bit, but I just think it's more fresh right now. We're recording this just as Terrence got drafted.
Yeah, man, and it's not easy to get drafted. It's just not. Like, being a 2nd-round pick is a huge deal, especially for a senior, a guy that really kind of wasn't on the radar a lot his sophomore and junior years. He was certainly overshadowed by the likes of Isaac and Bacon and Beasley. But for him to get drafted kind of where Dwayne Bacon was drafted is just a remarkable rise for Terrence Mann, who went from role player as a freshman to pretty good as a sophomore to one of the most vital players in the ACC the last 2 years. Just won a ton of games at Florida State, was a great teammate for the most part from what we understand. Just had a really good career. And that's a great honor. I don't know what kind of career he's going to have in the NBA. I know he's going to get a chance as a draft pick to make a roster and then maybe one day work himself into the rotation. I don't think anybody thinks he's going to be a superstar, only mainly because he's not an elite scorer. He never has. That's not really a big part of his game, and not a great shooter. Now maybe he can turn himself into one. But he hasn't been a great shooter in his career, and the NBA is a make-or-miss league. but still a guy his size to get drafted, and I think he'll get a shot with the Clippers. I don't expect him to play a ton. We don't know what the Clippers are going to be next year. They might have Kawhi. They were already a playoff team anyway, so they might not have a room in their rotation for a couple of rookies necessarily to get a ton of minutes, but I think those guys are going to be NBA players for a good long while.
40th overall was Dwayne Bacon back in 17.
And what was Terrence?
48th.
Man, that's great, man. I wasn't sure he'd be drafted just because of the shooting. But everything else, intangibles, defense, rebounding, athleticism, he's got it all. It's just the shooting you wondered a little bit about. But, man, it's just a great moment for Florida State to have, the one guy that kind of came out of nowhere in Kabengele, wasn't recruited at all. Both of them, Mann was a top 100 recruit. But Kabengele was a nobody recruit. And now he goes first round, and then a kid that's a program kid, a kid that lasts all 4 years, he ends up being a 48th pick and a 48th pick and a second rounder. And there are only 2 rounds, folks. There's only 60 guys drafted in the entire draft. For Florida State to have 2 of them, really neat, man. I'm happy for both those guys.
For sure, man. Fiondu drafted 27th by the Brooklyn Nets, but that pick is going to go to the Clippers. So he and T-Man will be teammates again. 27th. I mean, I'm sure Fee was hoping he would maybe be a lottery pick. That just sounds cooler, I guess.
How about that moon?
Yeah, folks, the moon is in the distance, obviously, as we head eastbound on Interstate 24 through the great state of Tennessee. And it's a shade of like I don't know, orangish almost, but a nice shade of orange.
It was right. It looked like we were driving right into it.
Yeah, not a Florida.
No, the beautiful orange.
Yeah, the beautiful orange. Not the Tennessee orange. Not volunteer orange. Not big really orange.
There really isn't a beautiful orange, is there? The Clemson orange is pretty ugly. Yeah.
I like burnt orange though. I like Texas. I like the horns.
That's the only one, right? Burnt orange.
It's acceptable.
Yeah,
it's acceptable. So Fee goes 27th overall to the Nets, but ultimately will end up with the Clippers. I'm sure he was probably kind of fingers crossed and hoping he would be a lottery pick. I started getting a little bit anxious for him as the 20s kind of kept dragging on. But he's a first-round pick, and I guess ultimately you can't fault him. He made the right choice, it seems like, right? I mean, this just affirms it.
Oh, yeah. While I'm talking about that, can you look up who the 27th pick was last year and how much guaranteed money they get? Because it's a lot. When you're a first-round pick in the NBA, it is a huge deal. I believe it's a 3-year guaranteed contract. Now, there's a salary structure, so you're only paid a certain amount. It's not like you can negotiate for a higher salary. You're slotted for what you're supposed to make for the first 3 years. But I also think it's a player team. I think it's a player option for the 4th year when you're a first-round pick. But when you're a second-round pick, you don't get the option. Maybe it's a 2-year deal. I don't know. It's a lot of... The NBA salary structure is pretty bizarre, and you have to be a physicist to know it.
Do we like Sport Trek or Hoops Hype when we're looking up?
Spotrac. I like
Spotrac. Sorry, I said Sport Trek.
Yeah.
Spotrac. Jacob Evans is who went 28th overall last season out of Cincinnati.
28th or 27th?
28th. Isn't that where I said Fee went 27th, right?
He did go 27th. But that's fine. What did Jacob Evans make?
Well, let me be correct on it as we're...
All right, let's listen.
As we're doing this. But, I mean, dollars and cents aside, the fact that he left early with such untapped potential before him still worked out. I mean, right? Like, we can't fault the kid for having left.
Oh, no, not at all. If you get drafted at all, it's hard to fault somebody for leaving. It was hard to fault Dwayne Bacon for leaving. He's gotten paid a lot more with the Hornets the last 2 years than he was going to get at Florida State. With somebody like Kabengele, I think you could look at him and say, all right, well, he scratched the surface barely, and he was already a first rounder. What if he comes back next year and is the ACC Player of the Year, averages in 19 and 11, leads them to the Sweet 16 again or something like that, and becomes a lottery pick? Well, yeah, in the short term, he might have cost himself some money, lots of money, $8 or $10 million, somewhere along those lines, I would think. It depends on how high he's drafted. But at the end of the day, he also gets that second contract quicker, and he's an older kid. Like, he redshirted. He went to prep school for a year out of high school and then redshirted. So he had 2 years, this was kind of like a senior year for him at Florida State, or maybe even a redshirt senior year. He's an older guy, so I get why he wanted to go ahead and start his pro career. And you can't fault, he became an instant millionaire as soon as his name was called.
Yeah. So Robert Williams
kid from Texas A&M?
27th overall, yeah, to the Celtics last year. Last season made $1.65 million. This coming season he'll make $1.9 million.
And then what about the year after that?
$2.02 million.
So he's guaranteed.
And then this season he's guaranteed the 1.9. Then he's got a two-year option following that. There's a club option in 2020,
right,
and 2021.
So fee is guaranteed of at least $4 to $5 million.
Yes, his guarantee was 2 years, 3.6 roughly.
Yeah, so that's what Kabengele will be, a little bit more than that because the structure always goes up. So you're guaranteed about $4 million if he never plays a second in the NBA. Yeah, man, it's easy for me to say he should go back, or you to say he should go back and prove himself even more and become a lottery pick. But man, when you're a first round pick, you know, it's I don't know what you get that extra year. It's a risk to come back and think you're going to be a lottery pick, and then maybe you're picked 24th or 29th, or you hurt your knee. So good for him, man. I'm just really happy for him. It's a bummer, selfishly speaking, because I really like covering him, and I think he would have been unbelievable next year at Florida State. But even still, he gets a year probably. I don't expect him to play a ton for the Clippers his first year, at least right away. But, you know, by his second or third year, he might be a rotation player. And I just think he has so much potential that's still so untapped on both ends of the floor. He can be a really good defender. You know he's going to work hard and be a good teammate. Well, those are great intangibles to have in that league.
But he's a rookie. I don't know how much of that, you know, that I think that stuff takes some time to really be appreciated in the league. The association, right? I mean,
I'm just talking about like him. He could and should have a 10 or 11 year career.
Let's hope. Well, here's the thing: you talk about risk reward. I mean, I looked at 13th overall pick in 2018 was Jerome Robinson out of Boston College. What he got was 2 years, $6.6 million.
So you're looking at a $3 million difference
if he comes back for Florida State, and doesn't get hurt, and grows, and it's hard to imagine he's going to take a step back. Based on the fact of the way his career trajectory is going and his relative newness to the sport. I know that's not really a good word to use, but that's what I'm not criticizing him. I just, for as skeptical and negative as I am, and everyone likes to point that out about me, and I'll wear it, I think I don't know. I don't operate in this doom and gloom when it's kids coming back. And I think history is not on my side by and large. We've talked about quarterbacks coming back to Southern California,
right,
and that not working out for them, things of that nature.
Yeah, but
would like to see him come back, and I think that's where it would have been probably projected. Had he come back and kind of built off being the sixth man of the year, he's probably going lottery teens, and is getting, you know, with the cap going, to probably get $7 million.
Yeah,
but a good consolation for our guy.
Yeah, he still gets $4 million, but also where you make your real money is that second contract. And you're closer to that second contract the quicker you come out. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
But you're also better set up to earn a second contract by refining your game and getting more reps under a good coaching staff and playing in the ACC. You don't think so? You think so? He's good. He's maxed out. He doesn't need to get any better.
No, I think he'll get exponentially better playing NBA minutes and not being double teamed in the ACC. I think it is such a different game. It wouldn't hurt. I'm not saying he'd be hurt.
Is he going to get a lot of minutes, though? We don't know what that roster is going to look like, but I don't feel like he's going to get 30 minutes a night.
But I'm saying I don't think he would be all that more prepared for the NBA game by playing in the ACC for one more year. As good as the ACC is, it's just such a different game.
Corey's upset at me. He's looking away from the road to really emphasize his point.
I'm really emphasizing it. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying that he couldn't use some refinement and he wouldn't have come back and made himself some more money. I'm just saying I think his thought process is, and the people around him, is like, you're going to get better by being in the NBA. Just like I got better as a writer. Well, some people might scoff at that. By writing more, I got better as a writer. It's the same, you know, it's just the same thing in anything. And I think the NBA is such a different game that I don't know. I don't know how much it would help him to play 30 games where he's double teamed all the time. I don't know, because he's not going to get double teamed in the NBA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a wing. He's a 4. He's a 3 or 4 stretch guy. It's going to be. It's just such a different game. I know I keep saying that. So it's just going to be the experience of being in the NBA will help him become a better NBA player. I mean, I don't know. You know, I assume Durant would have been better if he'd have come back to Texas for. I know that's an extreme example because he was the number 2 pick. But all those guys, like, I just think they get better by doing it in the NBA. That's when you become those guys. I don't know that Donovan Mitchell would have gotten any better by going back to Louisville. It's just you learn as you do it in the NBA. So I hope he gets minutes. I definitely think he's going to be in the league for a while. And I don't know. I don't want to dismiss Kabengele because I love that kid. He's awesome.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I'm ecstatic for Terrence Mann. I just think that's great for college basketball. A kid like that gets drafted and gets rewarded for the hard work he put in over 4 years. Because he certainly wasn't on anybody's draft radar as a freshman or a sophomore.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't on my. Not that I have a draft radar really when it comes to NBA, but
you put your mock draft out a couple weeks ago.
Well, I don't like to brag about it, but the mock draft was put out there. That's a joke.
Did you have that kid from Georgia? Not Nick Claxton, but the other one.
Oh, the one from
Georgia country.
Yeah. Luca, maybe. I don't know what his name was.
Something like that.
Well, yeah, I was embracing for him to get drafted, and it's absolutely fantastic to see a kid develop, stick through the process, if you will, and then get rewarded for it ultimately at the end of it. And I think what great selling points for the program and for Leonard Hamilton and CY and Dennis Gates now that you've got almost like, to your point, like two polar opposite sort of endorsements or examples to pitch to kids. Like, listen, you might be a little bit raw, but we're going to figure out a way to get you involved, and whether it's you coming off the bench and being an energy guy and being a glue guy, and we're going to be able to showcase what you can do enough to the point where teams will see your potential and want to take a chance on you. I don't want to take a chance. I don't think you're taking a chance on Mfiondu Kabengele. That's probably a poor word choice. But then a guy like Terrence Mann too, where you're saying, listen, you're going to be a foundational guy for us. You might not be flashy, but if you believe in what we do, if you allow us to mold you, be a defensive force, pick your spots well when you are shooting, develop a three-point shot to a respectable degree, then you're going to be able to do really great things at this university that's beginning to appreciate what a basketball program does to enhance the student experience, to enhance the fan experience of being a Florida State fan. And then, you'll get rewarded on the back end of it, and you'll become a pro. I imagine to a man, Leonard Hamilton is extremely ecstatic and giddy, but a part of him has got to really be happy that Terrence Mann is a pro. That's fantastic.
It's 3 first-round picks, and I guess the last 4 years with Beasley, Isaac, and now Kabengele, and then you throw in Bacon and Mann. That's 2 more second-round picks. So it's becoming like you've got all this recent history now, because so many of these high-level guys, the 5-star super-duper guys. I think Florida State can point to itself now and go, look, we'll develop you too.
Oh, yeah.
Like John Isaac was a lottery pick. Malik Beasley was just outside of the lottery and now is going to be making a lot of money. Dwayne Bacon, I think, is going to be in the league. He proved at the end of the year with the Hornets. So they're going to have 5
Michael
or 6.
Jordan likes Dwayne Bacon. He keeps him on his roster.
Yeah, well, we hope, and we hope he keeps him going into next season too. And then you got Kabengele and Mann. You've got proof now over the last 4 or 5 years that not only are these guys good recruiters, but they can develop you too. The Kabengele and Terrence Mann ones are just incredible proof, like just great proof. That now you look at that, and you look at that recruiting class with Beasley, Bacon, and Mann. All 3 of them were drafted. It tells you where this program is now. That it's getting these kind of guys, and they're developing, and then they're getting drafted, and that begets other people coming and getting drafted. Now I don't know what the prospects are. Well, I don't even want to say that. Like I would look at someone.
What did we just run over? Was that just
I'm not
all
sure
sorts of dead deer?
It looked like red clay. Maybe.
Okay,
let's
all right.
hope. But then it did make a little bump.
Yeah.
So let's hope not.
All right. Sorry, everybody.
No worries. I was going to say, really wake up. Not that deer, apparently. Trent Forrest. I don't know what kind of NBA prospect he is.
Oh man.
Because of the shot.
Yeah.
Everything else is NBA ready, and it's an NBA game, and he's an NBA size. And I want to say right now, I would be surprised if he got drafted next year, no matter how good he is. But you know what? Terrence Mann just got drafted.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight at Terrence Mann. I would have never thought this time last year Terrence Mann was a draft pick. I just never would have thought that. No. And so he is, and we hope he makes a roster. He might go to the G League. We don't know. But he's going to get paid professionally to play basketball, probably in the NBA. Trent Forrest might be the next one. Then there's Devin Vassell. There's guys out there that
Raekwon Gray.
They keep coming up the pipeline where now they have guys that they played with that are in the NBA, and that's going to make them hungrier, I think, to get to the NBA. I don't know. I just think that's you can't overstate these kind of nights and what it means for a basketball program.
I absolutely think they're so much more marketable now, and that's one of the points you were kind of building towards, and I'll divert you from it. You talk about just being able to showcase to players and prospects what you've done with these two guys. These super duper recruits, yeah, you're still never going to obviously be in that sort of stratosphere of a Duke or a North Carolina or a Kentucky, but then again, really who is? Maybe Kansas is up there. But you see programs like Indiana that are considered blue bloods, or UCLA, and they've been struggling for years now. And these kids have such short memories. When you're talking to football recruits about, especially all these defensive backs, and they talk about, yeah, I want to come to Florida State. I want to come to FSU. I want to be part of DBU. There's kids that have literally said to Michael Langston when we've been on these recruiting tours, I want to come to Florida State. I want to bring him back to Jalen Ramsey, Florida State.
Right.
You know, they're not talking about Terrell Buckley, Florida State, or Chris Hope, Florida State, or Brian McFadden, Florida State. You know, they're Jalen Ramsey is Florida State to them.
I want to be the next Ronald Darby.
Yeah, exactly. So
Darby 2.0.
I mean, kids now are on Twitter and they'll see the highlight of Fee, you know, posterizing the Greek Freak in a game or something, and talk about like,
you thinking that's
let's
go,
let's go. And you know that's
Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't want any of Kabengele.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo. Brady's saying it from the back. But
Brady Clark's in the back.
Not on the mic.
Yeah, Brady's in punishment right now. He's been sassy to his father. His father's given him many chances to redeem himself if he chooses to. They've been getting along great. It's fantastic. I love you, Brady. I'm just joking. Back to your movie. We got a podcast to do. Presented by Zaxby's. Go to Zaxby's, everybody. Well, yeah, it's what a great night for Florida State basketball. It just shows you that what Leonard is doing is like a real thing. This is like a thing that's happening. And with the guys you talked about being in the pipeline, whether it's Trent, Devin Vassell, Raekwon Gray, we'll see what Malik Osborne's all about this season coming too. So fun times to be a Florida State fan. Although I saw somebody on the Tribal Council talk about how heartbreaking it's been being a Florida State fan because they lost in Omaha, they lost in the Sweet 16, they didn't make a bowl game. Softball team lost in a super regional, and it's like, well, you know, they made it to Omaha.
I was going to say
they made it to a Sweet 16.
Yeah, almost every season ends in heartbreak. We were listening to the draft on the drive, on this interminable drive.
Jeez, it's never gonna
I made fun after Duke had 3 of the top 10 picks, including 2 of the top 3, and they didn't win a ring.
Right.
You know, it's just
they didn't make the Final Four.
They didn't make the Final Four. Like almost every season for every team ends in heartbreak. That's just how sports works. Unless you're USC baseball in the 70s or UCLA basketball in the 70s or America's Cup for 100 years. You know what I mean? It always ends in heartbreak. So the journey is what you got to pay attention to, folks. And you should be thankful that you get a cheer for Florida State. I'm not a cheerleader, but you've had since 1980 the winningest football program. You've also had maybe the winningest baseball program. I don't know, not national championships, obviously, but they've won a ton of games. Your basketball team is now relevant, Sweet 16 2 years in a row, and 3 out of the last 7 or whatever. Your softball team's been a national champion. Your soccer team's been a national champion. Your track team's been a national. I mean, good things. The good things happen around here. So it's fun. Like imagine just, I don't know, like Purdue.
Oh,
you got Brooks Koepka. Good call,
Shout
Brady.
out to Brady Clark.
Yeah,
on the
Brooks.
back
He threw Brooks Koepka in there. You got Brooks Koepka to cheer for, and like be like a Purdue fan. What do they get really excited about?
Missouri. We drove through Missouri today.
Perfect example.
What
are
Missouri
they good
done?
at?
Yeah. And who do they compete with in state? Yeah, it's their whole state.
But they're Missouri's okay at things. Like they're okay at baseball. They're okay at basketball. They're sometimes pretty good at football, but they're not. Imagine being a Missouri fan. What has been the best Missouri sports moment of their life or the last decade? Meanwhile, Florida State gets them every year that something cool happens. The soccer team just won a national championship. You got to watch Jameis Winston for 2 years. You got to watch Beasley and Bacon and Mann and Kabengele, and then the softball. I mean, it's just cool. You know, the baseball team. Getting to Omaha is neat.
Awesome.
Imagine being a Georgia baseball fan. That
they
guy.
They won a national title.
They've been, but 29 years ago, and they were the national seed 2 years in a row and didn't even win their regional. Brady, I'm talking.
They can't hear him. It's fine.
I know, but I can't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I think he thinks they can hear him. So Georgia's been the national seed 2 years in a row and didn't even make it out of its own regional. That's heartbreak. Getting Omaha and losing is a bummer. I get it. And going 0 for 17 is a real bummer. But it's still better than not getting to Omaha, as you pointed out.
Absolutely.
And getting to the Sweet 16 and losing to Gonzaga is better than losing in the first round of Vermont.
Yes. Matt Wee on warchant.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're a student, email support@warchant.com for a promo code that will get you 1 year of access to warchant.com for only $12 American dollars. Matt Wee replies at Corey Clark, we need to get Theo Epstein to be our AD. He cured the Cubs and Bo Sox. He could cure the Noles.
You know, I was thinking he wouldn't come as the AD. I don't think they'd pay as much. Well, I mean, I assume the Cubs are probably paying him $6 million a year or something like that.
Okay.
But maybe if they floated out the coaching job to him, like maybe you think Epstein would want to be the head coach?
No, I think we could get maybe AD, and I don't know.
I mean, AD, he's basically he's already the GM of the Cubs. So I don't think AD at Florida State, that's a lot of extra work.
Right.
He's not the baseball AD. He's got to do a lot of juggling with a lot of different sports.
Maybe when
But if
Thrasher,
he's the coach, he's a baseball guy. I bet he would love to be the coach.
let's make him the AD, and then when Thrasher retires, he can be the president.
Yeah, I still think he's the president of the Cubs, and I don't know what his title is. What's this person doing, Aslan?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, he just keeps hitting his brakes. It's about like deers keep running out in front of him. Yeah, he is. He's like Brady on the scooter. By the way, folks, if you're ever in Omaha, and I pray that you are someday,
we all are.
They have these motorized scooters where you go around with an app and you unlock them with your phone, and then you can go scoot around the downtown area on these things that go 15 miles per hour. But what we didn't, unbeknownst to us, is number one, you're supposed to be 18, and Brady was on it and he was 10. And they also say you're supposed to do it in the street, and we were doing it on the sidewalk. Now, people were diving out of the way. They were pretty empty sidewalks. But it was fun. We had a good time, didn't we, Aslan?
It was fantastic.
It was fun.
And we had some delicious ice cream afterwards.
So we did, and it was Brady's highlight of the trip for the week he was out there with the gorillas at the zoo, which were really cool. And, one of the mama gorilla just was sitting on a branch and just started peeing. And then, the daddy gorilla just rolled over on his back with his legs straight in the air. So that was fun. And then the scooters. The scooters were really fun. We saw 2 baseball players that will go unnamed, 2 Florida State baseball players, in the middle of the street, going as fast as they could.
Which is lawfully the thing to do. Yeah,
but it just looks bizarre because there's cars coming and going. And then you have these 2 kids on scooters in the middle of a downtown, a downtown intersection. But that's what Omaha wants, is basically people on scooters dodging cars. But it was fun. It's a good time. So go to Omaha if you get a chance. I don't know what I was saying before that, but it doesn't matter.
Have we been on? Has the interstate had a lane closed for more miles of our journey than it's had full open lanes?
It has not, but it's been close. I would say it's been about 35%, and we're currently in the midst of one. And folks, we didn't tweet it out. Maybe we should. We drove by the worst flooding in Iowa that I've ever seen. I didn't even know it was possible to look like that. Literally, Aslan took a picture of a farm that looks like it's an ocean. And it's got waves. The water had waves.
There's wake. It's ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so I know this happened in March, and it didn't get a ton of news coverage, I don't think, when it happened back in March. But I mean, those people are still feeling the effect. They just opened that highway as we were driving on it, but essentially a few hours before we got on the road. The 29 South, I think it was 29.
Yes.
Was reopened, and man, that flooding was incredible, incredible in an awful way. You just feel for those people, because I don't know if they ever get their lives back with the way. I mean, it's been 3 months now, and it looks like an ocean. I mean, there's water going up, covering trees almost.
It's open, but there's 50 miles of it where you can't even exit off of it because, no one's going to work. Because they can't get to work because they're underwater. It shows you the awesome force of nature and the unfortunate reality these folks are having to deal with. And I don't even know what you can do. You just got to hope for it to subside. But it was it was extremely powerful. I mean, I saw some of it flying into Omaha, and I kind of heard some people gasping as we were landing. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And you look out the window, and I surely do hope, and I know they're doing everything they can out there to kind of rally around each other, but hopefully that does subside for these folks and they're able to get kind of back on their feet. But, yeah, kind of goes back to, what 11 has to deal with when we talk about the ups and downs of his career, maybe, baseball, sports, perspective, everybody. I know that's always kind of a thing to hear from people to talk about, but there's real life going on around us all the time. And
there's been
we got it all right.
We've all dealt with tragedy in our lives. Some of you, I'm sure, more than others, have dealt with awful stuff that's happened. And yeah, man, it's sports. We're lucky to get to cover sports. I'm lucky to get to talk about it and write about it. But yeah, that stuff is that's real life, and it's like, I mean, that's generational. Like there's a lot of obviously farmers that's family businesses. And there's just a dude standing in the middle of the street, Aslan. This is nuts. What a crazy drive. It's midnight. Anyway, so yeah, it's just that you really feel for those people out there, because it's generational, and you wonder if their lives will ever be the same after that is a tragedy. That's a massive flood.
No farmers, no food, brother.
You ain't lying.
No food.
You ain't lying.
Let's introduce a new segment as we try to segue away from the seriousness of life and try to make you folks smile and laugh. We'll call this Cryptic Tweets with Corey Clark. Clark.
Okay, all right.
At JTrav_6 tweets out, "I'll never question God. Stay positive and get ready for next season." That was tweeted by Jordan Travis on Wednesday at 5:35 p.m. Cryptic Tweets with Corey Clark. How do you decipher "I'll never question God, stay positive, and get ready for next season"? Is next season 2019 or is next season 2020?
Well, the way I would read that is that if I was wanting to decipher cryptic tweets, which I guess I'm bound to do. I'm bound to do now because of the segment.
That's what you do.
I would say that maybe he got news that he would not be eligible.
That's what the folks on WarChant.com's tribal council are thinking.
And if he got news that he was not going to be eligible, that obviously he's not going to question it, he'll be fine, and he'll get ready for 2020.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
figured it out.
He's not going to beat out Hornswoggle anyway.
Hornibrook.
Sorry.
Hornibrook. Also on WarChant.com, the Bryant Mcfadden season position breakdown preview outlook continues. This time linebackers. B-Mac and our own Gene Williams break things down.
He also broke down 3-4, right?
He does.
Like what to look for in a 3-4 and how it's different. That's good stuff, man. I mean, I think I know this. I'm a pretty astute sports fan, or I used to be. Isn't that what the Steelers played?
Correct.
The 3-4 with Polamalu doing all that stuff, and Mcfadden. So he knows quite well what the 3-4 does, and let me put it, he knows what the 3-4 is supposed to look like.
Yes.
And when it works really well, what it does, what its strengths are. So, you wouldn't get a bet. There aren't many more authoritative figures on the 3-4 than somebody that played for the Steelers for a decade in the 2000s.
I wonder where this is all coming from. It seems odd to me because my understanding has always been that Michigan State's always run a pretty conventional 4-3 defense, and Harlan Barnett's obviously a Michigan State guy. I've always thought the D'Antonio defense has always been a 4-3 sort of base. I know that everyone's got a little bit of multiplicity in what they try to do.
Right.
But the bugaboo was the fact that, are we about to drive into Nashville? Is that Nashville in the distance?
That's Nashville, buddy.
I love
sweet,
Nashville.
Sweet Nashville. It is, Brady. It is pretty.
But the whole bugaboo was the fact that the team couldn't grasp the concept. Everything was, we got to make it simple. We got to make it simple. We got to make it easier. We got to make it easier.
Right.
And they're breaking this all into the spring with a new sort of setup in terms of who's coaching what segments and how many guys they actually have coaching that side of the ball. I know this gives them, it's crazy because people would get mad at me last year when things didn't work out. And they're like, what did you expect from Willie? When I would talk about he had 15 spring practices, off-season conditioning. He also had, a week to spend in Bond at IMG, and then he had his summer workouts, and then preseason camp, and then 3 months of in-season stuff to get better, and it never really kind of looked like it was turning the corner. Like, what do you expect from him? That's not enough time to change things. But I guess from a micro level, like, you can't change the culture and you can't change the attitude of players in 1 year, but we feel good, I guess, the optimistic Florida State fan, that this defense is going to take a 3-4 with this linebacking core that I guess they're hoping they'll be better suited to run a 3-4 with these linebackers. Even though they were kind of the weak point of the defense last year, putting more of them on the field is going to be a good thing, and they're going to be able to pick up more sort of foreign concepts and being able to bluff better when trying to show blitz. Is that just the optimism of the fan in June, or is that a practical sort of belief that, yeah, they can pick up a 3-4 in the spring and then going into the 2019 season?
Well, I think you could look at it as what could be worse. You know, it wasn't like they didn't crush the 4-3.
No, they did not.
They didn't get an A running the 4-3. And I think, you know, it gives you a chance to get pressure from different spots, and you're not, as far as we know, maybe some guys will take leaps this year. You're not very good at defensive end.
You're not.
And you're not all that athletic. So you got to get some athletes and some guys on the field that can run and move and maybe get around some blocks and pressure a quarterback, whether through a blitz or you've got to be able to find some guys that can make plays.
Like, who do you feel good about an outside linebacker? I know people like Dontavius Jackson, but I think he projects as an inside guy. I know people like what Jaleel McRae did in the spring game and the early reviews, but he sounds like he's an interior guy as well.
But don't you think that, like,
maybe Leonard Moore?
Woodby will play a little bit down there. Nasruddin.
Yeah,
they're hybrids more than they're just straight.
We like Amari Gaynor on the program. We like Amari Gaynor, what he can potentially bring.
We do. He's rangy. I like to call him rangy. His dad, Herb Gaynor, had a nice career at Florida State. Made a big catch in the '87 Fiesta Bowl.
We all remember that.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what you think is you're going to have, 220, 215, 220-pound linebackers. Brooks will be out there. You're going to have got more speed on the field. So maybe that won't be a bad thing. We'll see. Maybe you can get, obviously Marvin's going to be on the field, you hope, the whole time. And maybe Cooper and some of the other big dudes can also be on the field with him if you got guys outside that can move.
Right.
I think. I don't know.
I just always thought that 3-4 was there was more sort of complexity to it. There was more checking and movement and just responsibilities. And you got to know what all the different moving parts are doing more so than when you're in a 4-3. And this was a defense that struggled to grasp what we think was a vanilla sort of 4-3 cover 2, some cover 3-ish, not very much cover 3. And then that was something they kind of struggled to hold on to, but the 3-4 is going to kind of take. But we'll see. Harlan Barnett's got another year to figure this all out. And then I think there'll be a reassessment of that position. I don't know if unless that position or that segment or that unit, that side of the ball, takes a big enough stride that I don't know if Willie would stand pat on there if the offense kind of starts picking things up. But the best defense is a good offense, I think somebody once probably said.
I coined that a few years ago. It's on Seminole Headlines. I coined that. Okay. I'm glad you heard it. I'm glad it made its way out to Mississippi.
Yeah.
Was that your first time in Nashville since the FSU Missouri first-round basketball game?
Are we going to count that as being in Nashville? Let's just driving
we just drove through it. We just drove right through it. We didn't even drive through it. We just drove around it, but we got to see it.
Yeah. That was my first time since we were there. Yeah.
It was a glory. That was actually, was that your first assignment for War Chant?
No, it was like my first rodeo.
That's what I meant. Your first road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I broke the camera on the first day and I had to go home.
You did? I think that was like self-punishment. That was self-banishment. Gene didn't say come home, did he?
Yeah, he kind of did.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, can you blame him?
No,
the new guy. And I saw you do it. We filmed a great segment. You literally took the camera and said that was sweet and then smashed it into the ground. You spiked it like a football.
Like Gronk.
And then you told him, oh, no, it was an accident. And I didn't want to, you were my partner, so I wasn't going to let you down. Right. So it's like, yeah, Gene, that was an accident. He's telling the truth.
And you know what happened? I left and they kept winning.
Yeah, they won 2 more games. They beat, they did beat Xavier, not Xavier, but Xavier. And then they went out and beat Gonzaga, too, in L.A. And I didn't want to bring it up, but so I was covering this baseball team the whole postseason.
Right.
Because I wanted to be there for 11's last game. Figured it'd be in Athens. Well, they went 3-0 in Athens and turned into the 2001 Mariners, 98 Yankees.
You're mixing things about
95 Rockies.
All right.
Then went to LSU, beat a team they had no business beating twice in a park they had no business winning. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And then get out to Omaha. Drew Parrish pitches the game of his life. They win 1-0 for the first time in 20 years. They win their first game. And then who swoops into town on Monday afternoon? Brady. That's enough. Don't laugh. I'm not. Aslan feels bad enough, but you swoop into town. There goes the season, Playboy. There goes Mike Martin's career.
Well, they only averaged a half run less in my presence.
That's true.
In Omaha, so I don't feel too bad.
That's true.
About
The pitching kind of let them down once you got out here. The pitching gave up 6 runs in 2 games.
That is true. You can look at it through that prism.
Yeah.
That's fair. I guess I'll have to own that.
So, it's a bummer that you didn't get to see him win a postseason baseball game. I got to see him win 6 of them.
Yeah.
I was 6-0 on my own, and then
0-2
once you rolled into town.
0-2 in Salon and Q.
0-2 in barbecue.
Yeah. We didn't grab any barbecue in Kansas City on our way out here.
Or St. Louis. Or
Yeah.
Memphis.
Right.
Yep. We did crush the steaks in Omaha, though.
We did. Some of that Wagyu, son. Yeah, I'm sorry, 11. I didn't mean to. I thought, let's do this. Let's go. It's happening. I thought it was happening, 11. I really did.
Yeah. I did not. But it was still fun. It was still fun. It was a still fun ride to be a part of.
See, did you ever, though? I mean, you stayed pretty grounded. Like, I
just couldn't envision them.
I said I believe, but I didn't really believe. But I'm like, maybe it actually will.
I just couldn't envision them. I could envision them even getting out of that bracket. That wasn't an awfully hard bracket. I mean, once Arkansas was out of the way, I'm like, yeah, they could beat either of these other 2 teams.
Yeah.
But I just can't envision a way they could beat Vanderbilt twice. And it's baseball. Goofy stuff happens all the time, especially in that park. But they just don't seem equipped to beat that team. Vanderbilt had 13 guys drafted. And they're going to have a top 10 pick next year who's their leadoff hitter now. And they have other relievers that they're going to end up, this Vanderbilt team will end up having like 17 or 18 guys drafted off it. I don't see how Florida State competes with that to beat them 2 out of 3 times. Yeah, they have a rocker too that wasn't drafted.
Right.
And then the leadoff hitter is going to be a top 10 pick next year. So, look, anything can happen. The best team doesn't win on the baseball diamond every time, obviously. But ask Georgia. But I just couldn't envision how they were going to win a national championship once Vanderbilt beat Duke and got to the tournament.
Right. And as we've kind of touched on at numerous points in our 12-hour sojourn, are we hitting hour 12 or are we on hour 13 about now of our drive?
I think we're in our 12th hour, yeah.
Hour number 12. Hour number 12! Wake up, war chant. That Clemson is apparently the cradle of championship coaching, at least on the diamond.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Sullivan from Florida. Where was he assistant coach at, Corey?
He was a pitching coach at Clemson.
Okay. Tim Corbin of Vanderbilt. Where did he come from before Vanderbilt?
He was also an assistant coach at Clemson. Yeah.
And apparently the flavor of the month, week, year, Eric Bakich from Michigan.
Also Clemson had a stint, had a cup of coffee with the Tigers in the 90s, I believe. Before he went to Maryland, maybe? I think he was in Maryland.
All right. Okay, so it's not all on Monty Lee. Is Monty Lee the coach of Clemson?
Yeah, but it was. I mean, they all coached under Jack Leggett, who had a very good career at Clemson, but you would trade his career for, especially the first 2 guys you mentioned, in a heartbeat.
Right.
But that was the thing with 11 too. Is like you always kept thinking, okay, well, it's time to move on. Like if they move on, to get some new blood in there. But Florida State was always good. They were never. Clemson dipped at the end of Leggett's career, and he ended up. I can't remember if he was fired or retired or forced out, but it was. I don't believe it was. It was real acrimonious there at the end.
I thought it was acrimonious.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, it was acrimonious there at the end. It wasn't real amicable. I misspoke.
There we go.
I don't think it was real amicable there at the end. With 11, it was always Leggett gave him. He had some really like 31 and 28 type seasons. 11 never had that until this season, and then him going to Omaha anyway. So it was just different.
Yeah, the headline from WYFF News in Greenville, South Carolina, back on June 4th, 2015. Headline: Clemson fires head baseball coach. Clemson University baseball and head coach Jack Leggett part ways after 22 years.
Yeah, hey, some really good years. But
yeah, he made it to Omaha.
Yeah, never won it though. And we were also talking after Mississippi State choked away a 3-0 lead, which is like losing a 9-0 lead out there.
Also, by the way, they came back and had 29 come from behind wins on the season. It's not a typo. It's not a spoken fact. They had 29 come from behind wins.
Mississippi State did, yeah.
And then they
lost,
somehow lose with a 3-0 lead at TD Ameritrade Park.
But they're, other than Florida State, they're the most, I guess you would say, snake-bitten program in college baseball, right? Because they're a big dog too. Like, they're a blue blood in college baseball. They had Ron Polk. Yep. They had Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro and those guys.
Jeff Brantley was on that team.
Yeah,
too.
they've been very good. They've been a dominant program for a long time, and they've never won it either, guys.
Yeah.
But they did get to the championship series a couple years ago.
They got smoked by UCLA. I was out there.
Well, what are you going to do?
6 trips to the College World Series for Jack Leggett. His last 5 seasons all ended in the NCAA regional round. He never failed to qualify for the tournament, but 5 years of not making it past the regional was time to go. What would Meat need to do in the first 3 years to have a 4th season?
And we're giving him the job. He's already got it.
Yeah, I mean,
what would he need to do to have a 4th season?
Yeah. Does he, if he just goes if he never makes it out of the regional round in 3 seasons, wins 40 games, but can't get out the regional round?
I don't know that would necessarily be it. If they're sneaking into the regionals as a 2 and a 3,
okay.
I think if you're a 1 seed,
hosting,
at least if you're hosting 2 of those 3 years, then I mean, again, it's such a. I hate to keep coming back to it. It really can be a crapshoot in baseball. It's you have to judge, in my opinion, you have to judge it on the totality of the season, the regular season, because if you just judge it strictly on the postseason, well, then the guy at Fresno State, we just talked about him. Have they even made the tournament the last 5 years?
No, but they just re-upped him.
They re-upped him to 2021 because he won a national championship 11 years ago. So you can't just go strictly on the postseason. So, I think you got to look at the regular season, and if they keep doing what they've been doing, 40 wins, Brady, good grief.
Oof, is that
Brady, was that you? Holy moly,
wow.
Man. Come
smells
on.
like a used diaper. Oh,
I
sorry.
can't even
Sorry
think.
for the wind, everybody. Sorry about the wind.
My eyes are watering.
I wanted to talk about football, everybody, but Brady just ruined it.
I can't even talk. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I don't want to open my mouth.
Did you have anything to add, Corey, of importance? I'm going to wrap this up so we don't die.
No, I was just saying that that would have. He can't have like a couple 500.
Why is it getting
seasons.
worse? Why is it getting worse?
Brady, that doesn't smell like just a simple poop.
Oh, jeez.
That smells like you went for the gusto. Do we need to find a bathroom?
Oh gosh.
Do we need to find a bathroom?
No.
13 hours with these two, everybody. I've been in a car for 13 hours with these two.
That doesn't smell human. Imagine an 11-year-old producing that smell.
Anyhow, we'll be back next week. We'll bring back Renegade Express, and I promise we're going to open up the phone lines again, 850-792-5730. Shout out to our friend in McKinney, Texas. He left us a voicemail. I don't want to say his name because it's something with a T, and I appreciate you calling.
T-Bone.
Let's not do that.
Oh. All right.
But we'll take the calls. We'll take the Renegade Express questions. I think next week I'm also going to be out covering a football event that's outside the state of Florida, but as will involve Florida State sports. We'll have more of that next week. I don't want to give it all away, but we're back, everybody. We'll be talking about football, even though I'm still, I'm wearing the guilt of being the bad guy and ruining all this one last run
all
stuff
the mojo,
for 11.
Yeah, you kicked that to the curb with a quickness.
But
congrats to Kabengele and Mann. That was
awesome.
They were awesome kids to deal with. for the last 3 to 4 years. You know, Terrence for 4, Kabengele for 3, just awesome kids to deal with. And I hope they go make millions of dollars and have great careers in the NBA, because they were awesome, good ambassadors for the program, and just awesome kids to deal with overall.
You know, if Brady had Zaxby's, it wouldn't have smelled like this.
It smelled like roses.
He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening. We'll catch up with y'all next week.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.